fuel your passion. God gave humanity a broad purpose and vision for their existence. Why are you most passionate about seeing the character of God show up in the earth? That all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are the called according to his purpose. Purpose is your seed, but you are God's seed, and you must become the tree before you can get the seed. You must make sure to protect your environment from any habit, friendship, relationship, or opportunity that could stunt your growth. Some relationships only work because you're both lost and confused about who you are on the earth. Hi guys, how are you guys doing today? I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you, and thank you so much for clicking into this video. If you're new here, my name is Aching Official from Kenya, and please consider subscribing. And if you're Cheese Squad, thank you so much for always coming back to check up on your girl, to know how your girl is doing. As you can see, your girl is doing fantastic. I'm doing well. So guys, I've just finished up to the 3 a.m. live, and I'm not going to sleep because I need to finish this book. Guys, I told you the main purpose of me reading this book is to improve on my public speaking skills. Okay, so if you're a book lover, then this session is for you. As you guys call it, story time session. So this is gonna be one of the best moments of our channel. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so I haven't for 2 days I haven't read this book. I was so busy, but I'm so happy, I'm excited, I'm back, I'm back. So make sure you like the video, make sure you leave a sweet comment in the comment section, guys. Let me know what you guys think about the video. I understand we get new viewers every day, so if you're new to this channel, this is the book that I started off. It's Woman Evolve by Sarah Jakes. It is Woman Evolve by Sarah Jakes. So this is the book that I've been reading, and today we're gonna dwell on chapter 5. Okay. So our topic of today is going to be the work the weight. This is chapter 5 of this book. And Adam called his wife's name Eve, because she was the mother of all living. That is Genesis 3:20. As we begin to do the inner work that leads us closer and closer to God's perfection plan for our lives, we can expect to discover purpose and passion that makes us ponder, maybe this is why I was born. Generally, when we think about who we are, we begin by naming off the titles and roles we possess. I am a wife, mother, daughter, entrepreneur, leader, pastor, and other. Actually, that's not who I am. It's what I do. But it can be exceptionally hard to know the difference. Answering the question of who you are is impossible without understanding your essence. Ask yourself, what is my consistent offering to my job, family, friends, and community? I am a servant, lover, carrier of joy, motivator, facilitator of environments, listener, and believer. Those qualities make up who I am, but they also show up in each of my roles. And the combination of those qualities gives me distinction regardless of the environment I'm in. While we do not want to make the mistake of making who we are become synonymous with what we do, we can't ignore what we do together. What you do and how you do it should all stem from who you are. My servanthood, love, joy, listening, believing, and facilitation of environments all show up in how I function as a wife, mother, daughter, entrepreneur, leader, pastor, and other. Many of you reading this book aspire to see your life revolutionized from the inside out. Some goals you want to accomplish will be directly related to what you do or what you'd like to do one day, but you aren't exactly sure how to get there. I feel like this is where Eve landed once the aftermath of what took place in the garden settled in. God expanded her purpose, but God didn't leave a roadmap behind detailing how to get there. Is that how you feel? On one hand, you know exactly what you are supposed to do, but you also have no clue how you are supposed to do it. I really believe that, like Eve, your how is buried in your now. Maybe that's not your story, and you feel like knowing what you are supposed to do with your life, but knowing how you're supposed to do it would be a welcomed burden. I've got some thoughts that I believe will help you too. You don't have to know every detail of your purpose or even what your purpose is in order to set your life up for purpose. That's part of the reason I want to stress how significant it is for you to come to a place where you trust who you are. Your inability to trust who you are will also show up in what you do. We falsely believe that we'll become confident in who we are when we arrive, but we fail to realize that confidence is what leads us in the first place. If you don't think you're eloquent, intelligent, savvy, or confident enough for the journey ahead of you, it will show up in how you perform. And when your performance doesn't stand out, it leaves very little in any room for promotion, connection, and networking. It's a vicious cycle because from there you won't volunteer to take on new challenges. You won't push yourself beyond what is necessary. And you may even begin to sabotage opportunities because you don't trust yourself to live up to the standard you have in mind. In your mind, if your mind is anything like mine, you are wondering how you balance the real feelings of uncertainty when starting in a new field while maintaining who you are. I'm not suggesting you don't get nervous or that you walk in any room with a false arrogance. What I'm saying is that when you walk into the space, you have to make a decision within yourself that no matter what happens, you will not allow the outcome to take away from you who you are and all the hard work you've been doing. This is exactly what I tell myself before I speak. I'm usually super nervous because I want to perform well. I want to meet God's expectations and those of the people in the room. When I live in that nervous space, I talk fast. The words get jumbled and I lose my train of thought. I end up literally doing the opposite of what I hope to do. When I take a few deep breaths and remind myself that when I am authentically who God has called me to be, so much so that I cannot feel, it eases the tension. I may still have nerves, but I remind my nerves who I am. When you come to a place where you are confident that your mistakes don't define you, that a person can't outshine you, and that your failure is a blessing in disguise, you bring a level of confidence and fearlessness that sets you apart no matter which room you are in. This doesn't mean you should walk into spaces unprepared and winging it. On the contrary, you have to be even more intentional about doing your homework by understanding your audience and what matters to them. You want to know that you've done everything you know to do when you walk into that room. When you've done your homework, you are less afraid of taking a pop quiz. Isn't that what scares us from breaking out of our comfort zone in the first place? We don't want to be confronted with a pop quiz that proves we're not as equipped and knowledgeable as we thought we were. You can't avoid failing in life, but you can do everything within your power to prepare. When faced with failure, you get to choose whether it becomes a lesson or a deterrent to keep you from trying again. I don't know about you, but I've made up in my mind that failure is going to have to work very hard if it's stepping into the ring with my faith. So you're getting ready to roll up your sleeves and allow the work that's been taking place on the inside to start showing up on the outside. You are ready to start doing the work to build out the full vision God has given you. Many women I've met have a passion to start a business, serve their community, climb the corporate ladder, write a book, or create a ministry, but they don't feel they have the tools to make that happen. I can't promise you that I can give you all the tools, but I do want to provide you with important insights to help you keep your ambition off pause, begin to overcome obstacles, and pursue those desires. Be purposeful. First things first, you are seed, and you have seed. You are what God has planted in the earth. Within you, He has placed seed that will spring from your life so the earth can be sustained. Have you ever seen an apple seed? It's so small and seemingly inconsequential, but we all know that there is more to that seed than we can see. When given an opportunity to be planted, nurtured, and nourished, that small seed can become a mighty tree. That's you. You are an apple seed. You are learning the beauty of being planted, nurtured, and nourished so that you provide sustenance to the world. Purpose is the sustenance you offer to the world. I believe that purpose happens in steps. Sorry, I know you probably wanted me to give you one cure all sentence, but I'm not sure it's that simple. Point one, agreeing. You must come into agreement that your existence is seed. You are not random. How you start is not an indication of how you will finish. Even if your childhood included elements of trauma, it doesn't mean your seed has been damaged. If you're still living, breathing, and reading this book, then God is trying to let you know that there is still somewhere God can place you on this earth that will yield a version of you that looks more and more divine. This isn't even about talking what you will become. Rather, it's acknowledging that you are here to become more and more like what God had in mind. Number two, project. Because you aren't exactly sure who you are becoming, you must make sure to protect your environment from any habit, friendship, relationship, or opportunity that could stunt your growth. Let's go back to the apple seed example. Did you know that just because you take the seed of a Granny Smith apple and place it in the ground, that doesn't guarantee it will produce? Yeah, for sure. Sorry. That doesn't guarantee it will produce Granny Smith apples. Producing an apple tree takes more than just planting a seed in the ground. Variables, including the soil, pollen, and climate, all play a role in determining what kind of apple the tree will produce. We know that you are seed, but we don't know what kind of tree God is creating. It's not enough for you to be planted. You need people and opportunities in your life that reflect who you are becoming. You are the only person responsible for making sure you are vigilant in protecting the seed you are in God's mind. Number three, nurture. Finally, when your fruit seed begins to take root, you have to consider how you can continue the act of nurturing it. You will know that something is nurturing your seed when it begins to cut through your fears and insecurities and begins to motivate and empower you. This may come from reading a book like you are doing now, hearing a speech, listening to a song, or connecting with someone you know. Make sure you take notice of the moments when you feel someone is nourishing your seed. Though countless people have asked me, how do I find my purpose? Realizing that you have a purpose is actually better than knowing what your purpose is. When you don't know what your purpose is, you allow yourself to live randomly while still hoping to one day be awakened to why you are on earth. When you recognize your life is meant to serve the world, even when you don't know how you will live your unique distinction, you begin to find purpose in all that you do. Your ultimate purpose may not be evident to you now, but how are you making where you are now purposeful? Sometimes I go to the grocery store and walk around aimlessly while talking to my mother on the phone. Don't judge me. It's sometimes the closest I can get to a vacation. Other times, I have a short window, so when I go into the store, I do so with the intent to not be distracted or delayed. Are you walking through life like you have no purpose, allowing yourself to become easily distracted? Or are you walking around life confident that you must protect your space and energy so you can recognize your purpose when it comes? How would you be living if you knew you had a purpose versus just wondering what your purpose is? Implement that lifestyle now because it makes you open and available to to truly filter through what can live in the realm of your purpose. For instance, some relationships only work because you're both lost and confused about who you are on the earth. You don't have to know every detail of who you are to know that you don't have time for random. I mentioned Romans 8, verse 28 earlier, and we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are the called according to his purpose. I've challenged myself not to focus on the first part of that sentence so much that I miss the qualifier that comes at the end. What are you going through? God can use to work for you. When you're committed to making sure your life is working toward what God wants, does that mean you won't experience challenges or heartbreak? Absolutely not. It does mean that there won't be anything you go through that God can't use. What happened in the garden was not what God wanted, but when God gave the serpent the curse in Genesis 3, verse 15, God gave Eve an opportunity to return to a place of alignment with Him so that His purpose could still be manifested despite the setback. Can I preach to you for a minute? It doesn't matter what you've gone through. It doesn't matter how behind you think you are. I don't want you to give up on yourself because you feel like you're too far from any possibility of restoration. God has a promise that good is still possible when you are aligned with Him. Did you hear me? Good is still possible. The same God that put Eve in the game and set her up for victory over what attempted to defeat her is working on your behalf. You may have tried and failed, but at least you know what you are up against when you try again. You want to talk about all things working together? God's curse gave Eve a more strategic purpose, but the serpent's trick gave her fuel. Genesis 50, verse 20 has to be one of the most quoted verses in church. It speaks to how an enemy can mean something for evil, but God can use it for good. In the scripture, Joseph talked about an evil act by his brothers that God ultimately used to position him for greatness. With the woman in the garden, the serpent meant for Eve to eat from the tree, but God will ultimately use that moment as a catalyst to redeem all humanity. I can't just skip that. I can't just skip past the fact that everything God will use to redeem humanity was in play at the time that God gave the curse. The Bible tells us that God redeemed humanity by partnering with the woman to bring Jesus Christ into the earth. If all God needed was a woman, a serpent, and God's seed, Why did we have to wait thousands of years for God to bring Mary into the picture? Because there is a development that can't be rushed, that must take place before purpose is filled. We aren't born with the awareness of our purpose, and even when we discover it, we often have to wait many years to see the value and effectiveness of it. Your purpose is your seed, but you are God's seed, and you must become the tree before you can get the seed. The purpose doesn't grow you up. Who you become while waiting is what grows you up. It takes years for an apple seed to become a tree. If it happened overnight, the tree's roots may not be strong enough to withstand elements and able to produce. God, in His infinite wisdom, says there will have to be some seasons when the tree doesn't even know if it's an apple tree. It only knows that it's a tree. There will be other seasons when the tree has to survive lightning, snow, harsh sun, and rain before it can even bear fruit. Once the tree survives the elements, even if it gets cut down, it's able to grow again because cutting doesn't change your roots. That's why you must be willing to do the work that strengthens your roots. I love that God doesn't give seed to the woman in the garden at the moment he's made aware of the attack. All he gives her is a promise and time. What she does with that time will determine whether or not the purpose he gave her will come to pass. Guys, that's it for today. We're gonna continue with the rest tomorrow. We haven't finished the chapter 5, so tomorrow we'll finish the chapter 5 and a bit of chapter 6. Okay, so thank you guys so much for reading with me. Okay, and see you later.